Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Backlog Battle Podcast. This is Alex, and in case this is the first time you're listening or watching the show, we talk to gamers from all walks of life and try to get to know them a bit better than how you normally see them, whether they're content creators, developers, or even podcasters in some cases. And today, I'd like to welcome back a very special guest. His name is Domonic, but you know him as the Kiseki Nut. This is the second time he's on the show. The first time we weren't doing video, and we didn't even have a YouTube channel at the time. But now I can see his handsome mug right here finally, and properly introduce him to the world. Welcome back, Domonic.
Thanks very much, Alex. Thank you for having me back, and I'm looking forward to the podcast today. It's going to be sick.
To start the show, I feel like you need to address the biggest elephant in the room, which is the 4 big Trails announcements that happened just a few days ago as of this recording, because I remember us talking about it in huge detail the previous time you were here, that you didn't think it was going to happen. And so I want to know what happened at that exact moment that you realized that the impossible pretty much happened.
Well, we knew a day in advance because the Epic Games Store leaked it. And I mean, I reacted as well. I shared Hansuke's tweet, who shares a lot of the news within the Falcom fandom. I saw it. Obviously, I was incredulous, and I just wrote down, "Are you a bad word?" and then right now. So I was obviously very surprised. I never expected it to happen, but I was like, okay, let's keep our expectations in check. Maybe it's just like a bit of a hoax or something like that. Let's just wait until the next day. And then sure enough, they showed off the teaser trailers. They talked about the Geofront joining up for Zero and Eorzea. The release dates, fair enough. I understand some people are a bit disappointed with that, but the fact we're getting 4 games in 2 years, that's just... I mean, there are people who have been in the fandom far longer than I have, and I can only imagine the jubilation they must have been feeling, because, I mean, I've only been a fan for maybe just over 3 years, but I mean, I feel like a massive barrier has just been overcome. Excuse the crossbow pun, but it's something that just didn't make sense to me. It never made sense to me rationally why they would go and do this. And maybe, you know, obviously we don't know, but if the Geofront hadn't done the translation, would they have been picked up in the first place, the Crossbell games especially? But they have been. That's the main thing. They have been picked up, and it's massive. It's absolutely massive. And obviously a lot of people commented on the video I did about a year ago, where I basically said, I don't expect these to come. And sure enough, as soon as they were announced, 5 comments came in on that video saying, "Oh well, how about that? I think you might need to address this." It's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Then you got me, guys. But I said on the video that I did that day, I couldn't have been happier to be wrong. You know, I was. People wanted an opinion. I put out my opinion. It was wrong. But you know what? I don't care that it was wrong. This is the best case scenario for Trails as a franchise going forward. And hopefully now that means that there's just going to be more, well, the releases will be more in line with Falcom going forward, because it looks like NIS America and Falcom have that partnership now, that long-term partnership that's just going to keep on rolling along.
I will have to admit, I have been hiding some things from you ever since the first time that we had spoken. There was a little birdie that told me about a year or so ago that NIS had actually been looking to port Crossbell for the longest time, but I didn't really know the details. There was a lot of speculation that Geofront was involved, you know, and there was some birdies that were telling me like that it is about to happen. And it was like as early as last year. And so when you told me that, of course, I couldn't really say anything, because for one thing, it's speculation until it's confirmed, right? But I do share your jubilation with the announcement, because finally Crossbell is going to be played by a majority of people. But not only Crossbell, Nayuta as well, which that was, I think, probably the bigger surprise, given that, you know, I had some prior knowledge of NIS involvement with Crossbell, but Nayuta was like one that I was like, wait, what is this game even? You know, because everybody talks about Crossbell, everybody talks about Sky, and everybody talks about Cold Steel, of course, and the upcoming games. Have you played Nayuta by any chance?
I have played Nayuta. Nayuta is a strange one because it's not part of the canon of the series, but a lot of people make the connections between the main series and Nayuta, especially in relation to one of the characters. Well, actually, two of the characters really, but one in particular. And I can see the resemblance. I can see where they're coming from. But in terms of Nayuta being a part of the main Trail series, it's completely different. It's an action RPG, more synonymous with Spy 1 and 2 from Falcom, rather than say Trails. It's not turn-based. It's a lot more, like I say, ARPG focused, a lot shorter as well. Obviously, you've got those references to the Trail series there, like the currency and all that kind of stuff. But that was very surprising. And I know that obviously they've got Nayuta Kai, which has just come out. And it makes sense that they're going to be localizing it and getting more games over. But the fact that they're doing it in a bundle with the other Trails games, including Reverie and Crossbell, we can speculate. We can still speculate. But I have a feeling going forward, it's going to be incorporated in canonically to the series. Just based on that, I really do think it will be included canonically because Falcom have obviously pushed for it. They've obviously said to NISA, can you try and get this one done as well? NIS America, of course, going to be happy to do that going forward. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they incorporate it, even if it's just, say, an Easter egg or something along those lines, or a minor tidbit that someone who has played Nayuta will realize. I'm really looking forward to it. Whether that happens in the next few games or not, don't know. But yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I also want to kind of go back to what you said about the comments that you got and stuff. And I just want to encourage you to, to kind of keep your head high. I don't know what kind of comments you got, like if there were incendiary or anything like that, but as a content creator, it's natural for us to put ourselves out there and kind of be raw about our opinions and stuff. And when we get called out, it's not the happiest feeling. Like the other day I had DM'd you about one of your videos because you mentioned I forgot the exact context of it, but you gotten the Roman numeral wrong for something, and I was
E6 online.
E6 was you said like 4, and I was like, and I'm like, I watched the video further, and of course, like when you showed footage of the lady on the camera, she literally had a box on the back with E6 with the right thing, and I think I sent it to you, and part of me kind of felt bad because for one thing, I wasn't trying to call you out for your mistake. I think it's just I was just kind of trying to point it out. It's like, oh, look at this funny thing that I noticed, And I guess this is all to say that I hope that this doesn't discourage you from making like really good content, because ever since you've been on the show, I've really enjoyed the kind of content that you put out, especially when you recounted for a whole hour your time in Japan. That was incredible to me.
No, I wouldn't apologize or anything. There's no malice. There was no malice in them. They were more playful comments than anything else. I mean, obviously, there's only so much that you can get across in typed words, but there was no malice whatsoever. It was not like they were saying, "Oh, you absolute moron, you got this wrong, I'm not watching you ever again." It was literally just a bit of playful banter, and it was the same with you. The reason I didn't respond was because I didn't even realize the message was there. No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you say, we put opinions out there, but at that point, the call for Zero and Asia localizations had reached a really high point by that area, and a lot of people were asking, like, do you expect it to ever happen? So I dedicated a whole section to giving my honest opinion, because I'm not going to say, oh, they're definitely going to come and, just put that out there, because that's not how I felt. I want to be as integral as possible to the people who watch it. And naturally, for me, I always am a bit more pessimistic with these kinds of things, because I like to keep expectations in check. But obviously, this is a case where the best case scenario happened.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. But no, that doesn't discourage me at all. Like, I think with content creation, you have to have a degree of thick skin anyway, especially if you're looking at the comments day in, day out. And, some of them may rile you a little bit, but at the end of the day, you just move on and focus on the positive stuff. And I will admit, sometimes I'm a bit guilty of focusing in on the negative comments. I think only one of them I think it was about 2 weeks ago, which really got me, which
Hmm.
really did my nut in. You might have seen it on Twitter, to be honest, but generally I don't let it get to me. I think as an English person, we basically throw abuse at each other all the time, so it's just part and parcel of the banter around here.
That's true.
So no, I wouldn't apologize at all. It doesn't discourage me at all. I look forward to making the content because I enjoy making the content. And that's just part and parcel of it. If
Yeah.
if I let stuff like that get to me, I would have quit
Yeah.
ages ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Speaking of which, now that we have you on video, I think what's really interesting is I'm seeing a lot of trail stuff behind you, which is really great. It's, and I think you also started streaming as well, and we'll get to that later. But I'm kind of curious about your collection, and unfortunately, I'm not the right person to ask that because I don't collect this kind of stuff. So, as it turns out, our previous guest, somebody who we have talked about in the first time that you're here, actually has a message and a question for you about your collection. So here she is.
No way.
Hi, Dominic. It's Food for Dogs, and special greetings on a very special day when we're finally getting the long hoped for announcement of localizations of the remaining Trails games to come. A very happy day indeed, and I know you will be absolutely thrilled. So I have a question for you, and it concerns collecting. As you probably realize, I do love collecting things like limited editions. I also collect figurines or figures or statues, as they're sometimes called, specifically for the game franchises that I feel very close to. So my question to you today concerns your collecting habits. I watched a video of yours where you showed off some of your very special items that you had collected over the years for the Trails franchise. And I wanted to ask you, do you like also collecting figures or figurines? My reason for asking is that there has been an announcement by Kotobukiya for a special figure of Rian Schwarzer. They're working on it at the moment. They have shared some photos of the progress. It's as yet an unpainted prototype, but we can see quite clearly how it's going to turn out, the figure. And I was wondering what your reaction to that is. Is that something that you would like to put on your wish list? And are there any other characters from the Trails series that you would love to see a figure for? That's my question. Thank you.
Wow, that is unbelievable. I can't believe I can't believe that the lady herself, man. That's amazing. That is amazing. Wow, it's so amazing to have. I will be saving that clip. I will be saving that clip for myself for motivation, I think, going forward. Wow. Okay. So, well, her question in terms of figures. Obviously, this is addressed to Britta and to answer her. Yes, I am getting into figure collecting. Initially, I was just getting like limited editions and this kind of stuff from Japan. But I started watching a guy called Ken, who does a lot of figure-based videos. And he is also a Trails fan. And that is how I know about him, because he started commenting on my videos. I found out he did all these figure collecting videos, and his collection is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It's like something that I think anyone would envy who is into figure collecting. He inspired me to start collecting figures. When I was living back in Japan, I actually went on the UFO catches, like the crane games, and won figures from there, like $20, £20 figures, and spending like maybe £50 trying to get them. But it was worth it. It was fun. But now I've started to get into the 1/8 scale figures and the 1/7 scale figures. So indeed, I have bought the Altina figure has recently just gone up for pre-order from Kotobukiya as well. I intend to get that. I also intend to get the Reen figure, that's for sure. I've got a Risha figure back there, which is unofficial, but it's a garage kit. I also have the Fina figure from East Origin, which is from, I believe, Mythos. That has been delayed, but it is on the way. I've got an Atelier Riser 2 figure for Riser herself on the way. And I've also got Natsuno from Aegis Rim on the way as well. And I am going to be doing, basically, I'll be doing a merch roundup video as well on all that kind of stuff. So you guys, you can kind of see what I've been getting. And I generally also put up the methods by which, I generally try to put up the methods by how I get this stuff as well for people who are struggling and all this kind of stuff, what proxies to use or when not to use a proxy, because obviously, we're all collectors. We like to have fun, and, the more they build up, the more happy we become and the more proud we become of these collections. So yeah, definitely getting into figures, and don't worry, I'm definitely getting the Reen figure, and the Altina figure. There's 2 more on the way as well from Quest-Q for Elisa and Altina again from Cold Steel 2. And in terms of the figure that I really want from the Trails series, I mean, that's the $1 million question, but I've always maintained I would love to have the Divine Knights, all the Divine Knights, all figures of the Divine Knights lined up, or maybe even one of those Gundam build kits, that they do in Japan, like that are really expensive, but so worth it. I've always maintained, give me the Divine Knights, I will buy all of them. I will buy every single one of them. I don't care. And I think that's the one that really stands out to me. I mean, that's my inner child coming out. That's the Power Rangers, the 5-year-old Power Rangers lover coming out in me. But yeah, love it.
That's great. It's funny when you brought up playing UFO catchers. That kind of reminded me of your Japan video again. Like, there's a lot of really good memories there, and I kind of want to segue from Trails to talking about that. Was that video something that you made in reaction to like your experience with the first interview, or was it something that you've always wanted to make? Like that was just like in the back burner?
It was kind of a mixture of both. Initially, when I started the channel, that I started, I think we mentioned this in the previous time we met, that it was mainly because I wanted to vlog my time out there. But as soon as I rebranded, I deleted everything. And when I did delete everything, instead of unlisting it, I felt just, I don't know, empty. There was like a little bit of a hole in me, wishing that I kept them there. And then I put a community post out to my subscribers. I just said, I'm thinking about doing this. It's not going to interrupt with the main schedule of my videos, but if you guys would be down for it, have a look. Would you be interested in watching it? And quite a lot. And the reception was quite positive. And because I had never actually finished the vlogging videos, I had never actually finished, because generally what would happen is that I'd put a vlog out for each area that I went to, and I never finished it because I rebranded in the end. But I wanted to also finish that project as well. So I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just compile it all together. I've got everything here, compile it all together, put it in like a story format where it just like kind of retraces my steps through Japan. Hopefully, maybe it might inspire other people to do the same thing, to go out and live there, chase their dreams, whatever they want to do. And it's also there for me as well as memories, really, really good memories, something that I'm never going to forget and something that I'm never going to delete again. That is staying up. I don't care if it's not anything to do with my channel. It is what I want to keep there for my own personal enjoyment. And, some people have watched it. They've enjoyed it as well. And I think as well, people who enjoy JRPGs, quite a few people enjoy JRPGs, probably would enjoy going to Japan as well and all this kind of stuff. I've always said that when I go out there again, because I fully intend to go out there again when this situation sorts out, I will try and integrate Trails into there as well. Like maybe go on a quest to find Trails merchandise and stuff like that. Go to the Falcom head office, maybe bump into Kondo or something like that. I don't know, but that would be fun. But that is the dream, and I was very happy that I did it. Very happy that I did. I had a lot of fun filming that as well. I hope that came across while I was actually doing the live segments in between and stuff like that with the camera, because it was a very special year. One of my favorite, probably still the best year of my life, easily the best year of my life. And I still regret leaving to a point, but such is the way, you make a promise to your parents, you can't break that. And that's just the way it is. So
yeah. I think what's also really fascinating about the live segments is because you were obviously recording on Audacity. So in the background, I was literally watching Audacity just land a tick forward and you see the wave, like audio from like your speech. And I was just like, sometimes I was like distracted by it and I was enamored by it because I'm like, oh, wow, it's really doing it. But it's nothing against what you put out. Absolutely. I think what came across to me watching that video was that, yes, it was enjoyable. There was a lot of things that were really enjoyable there, and especially the way that you delivered it, your candor, and the way that you make us laugh is very apparent with that video. And if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend doing so. But there was also a tinge of sadness there towards the end, specifically when you started your final tour of Japan, so to speak, with your girlfriend at the time. And that kind of made me think of a lot of things, like, for example, like, are you still in contact with the person? Like, how did you meet them? Some of these things might be too personal to even ask on this show, but I guess my real question to you is, when you started talking about that journey through Japan, from all the way up north, all the way down south to Hiroshima and Miyajima Island and stuff, like, what did you feel as you recounted the stories and the memories that you created during that time?
Obviously there was a degree of nostalgia there, but it was also the melancholy as well, because I remember when I was traveling there, obviously the start of the traveling was very upbeat with all the festivals and all this kind of stuff. But as you got further to Hiroshima, you were still seeing amazing places, but it was also dawning on me, like, my time's nearly up. It's finished. I think, this was back in 2017. And the part where it really hit me was where I was on the boat coming back from Miyajima, looking at the sunset. And yeah, it was very melancholic, because obviously that was the end of a year, the end of pretty much my time there, saying goodbye to all my friends and all that. And I think when it really hit was when I was at the airport, because obviously, that's where you realize this is reality, this is happening now. Obviously, I was happy to go home because I still love the UK and obviously my parents and family and friends. But there was also that fact that I had friends for life who I'd made in Japan, obviously a girlfriend who I was leaving. And it was difficult. It was very difficult. It was basically that inner conflict, me promising my parents on one side and me feeling that, this is where I belong. Obviously the promise won out, because that's just the way I am. I don't make a promise if I can't keep it. But on the other side, obviously, sometimes I do wake up and think, wow, I regret that. I do regret that. But that's just the way it is. But it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen again. I fully intend to go out there for holiday, and who knows, maybe live out there again in the future. Who knows? But I'm still thankful for that time. I'm very thankful for that time, because it opened my eyes to such an amazing country, very friendly people, going down to the izakaya like maybe twice a week, seeing the likes of you and Yuki-san, who are lovely people, really kind people. And, like I say, making Western friends, making Japanese friends, and there was just so much to love about the country, no matter what it was. And I don't think I've pretty much said to myself, outside of family obligations, seeing family in Thailand, Japan is the only country I would ever go to for holiday or anything like that, because it's so captivating. It really is. And I know some people will be listening and probably thinking, this guy's just completely obsessed with Japan. But no, it really is that captivating. It's so far removed from the UK in terms of the way they live, the food that they eat, the culture, the convenience, everything is just so different. It's so enticing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I look back on it very fondly for that reason, in many ways. So yeah, that obviously I was a bit more melancholic, a bit more sad as the video went on, but it was because I was literally reflecting how I really felt at that time. I did feel like that, and I was just kind of recounting, wow, this was how I felt.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was eye-opening in that regard as well. So yeah.
What's interesting about this is that sometimes when we visit another country, we don't really know their effects until we engage with the culture that's there, but also when we look back upon it with reverence or nostalgia in a way. The only reason why I say this is because I've only been to really technically 3 countries, because I lived in the Philippines for about 17, 18 years, for the first 17, 18 years of my life. And then I moved to the United States. But when I'm, even before that, I had been to Japan when I was 5 years old, as kind of like a tag along with my uncle's honeymoon with the rest of the family, apparently, my aunts and my mom included. And I'm thinking to myself, this is quite the honeymoon where you're not just my uncle, but the entire sibling group went together. But also outside of that, when I grew up and had more money, I traveled to Paris, twice actually, once with my family and then once by myself with my then girlfriend. And then another time when I went to Japan, and after so many years, I think I was 25, 26 at the time. First time in Tokyo, after so many years, no idea where to go. And then when I came back, that's when, with my girlfriend and stuff at the time, again, same girlfriend, by the way, going to Paris as well. She was lucky.
Yeah.
But going to Japan and also kind of now realizing Tokyo is not the only good place, quote unquote, to go to. There's also Kyoto, which we actually, I was going to say second time in Japan, but technically it's the third time in Japan. We actually arrived in Kansai International, and then the first leg of our trip was actually in Kyoto. And so we actually stayed in Kyoto for about 3 or 4 days, and then we went to Tokyo and used that as kind of like a jumping pad for, visiting places like Nikko and everything else that's in Tokyo and stuff. I was about to say Kamurocho. No, it's it's not, there is no such place as Kamurocho. And now for some reason my brain is Kinkakuji. No, that's the pavilions. No, what is it? Kabukicho. There we go. It took, oh my gosh, it's so crazy trying to remember things there. But this is all to say that when you actually travel outside of the culture that you grew up in, you really get a vast understanding of what else is out there. To your point about how different the culture is, for example, I remember the very first time, which is technically my second time. This is so confusing. I'm so sorry for the people listening and watching. The second time that I was in Tokyo, which is the first time that I was an adult, I actually didn't know, outside of going to McDonald's, what other kinds of foods that I can get. The hotel that my mom booked for me to stay in was a business hotel. It's not like a capsule hotel, thankfully, but it was a business hotel. But there was a diner that was maybe a block or 2 away from the hotel, and I'd actually eat there expecting, oh, maybe there's American food. But then I looked at the menu and they have katsu there, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna have katsu, so technically I'm eating Japanese food. But also one of my excursions, if you will, because I had a guidebook, because I suck at Japanese. They recommended that I go to a department store in Ginza, which is, mind you, my Yamanote line stop was Shimbashi. And so I had to kind of really go out of my way to get to Ginza, to get to this one specific department store to just get a bento box, because apparently it's the best bento box in the area. And I'm okay, I'm such a sucker for this. I'm just going to go and do it. And lo and behold, they didn't have soda there and stuff like that, or rather I didn't know where to go. So I had to go to a Lawson's, get myself a Coke, and then get to my thing. But and the reason why I am describing this in this kind of detail is for people to understand how different that is from my regular day-to-day life. I don't go to 7-Eleven normally and stuff, or whatever the equivalent is in your country, a convenience store, if you will. But in this situation, it was in a way also using public transportation and not driving cars, and really just interacting with the people. Like, obviously the bento boxes didn't just materialize in my hand. I had to literally talk to a Japanese speaker in order to do that. Even eating at a diner, for example, I had to order things. Thankfully, they had a picture menu, so I can literally just point at it. But this whole long-winded story is just to say that, you know, I can definitely identify why Japan was such an enriching experience for you, especially staying there for a year and being part of the culture. It really is different than, say, for me, staying there for like a week at a time, you know? And one thing that I kept thinking about was when you said in your video that you had come back to Japan just for like a, you know, vacation or something like that in 2018. And I can only imagine like how different that felt, given that you weren't living there anymore.
It was hard. It was hard because the initial reason why I actually went out there in the first place was because at that time I was still with my other half, but then obviously the distance just became too much, and then obviously we went apart, and that was just the way it is. But I was like, well, I'm not going to cancel my trip. I might as well just still go out there and enjoy it. And I enjoy traveling. I do enjoy traveling alone. I was fortunate that when I went to Sapporo, which is where I did live anyway during my year, and it is my personal favorite city in Japan, regardless. I was fortunate that a lot of my friends still live there, and one of them said, "You know what? Don't worry about a hotel, man. Just
wow,
you know, chill with me." And he had his own apartment. He is a fellow degenerate like me. He has a lot of posters and all this kind of stuff. Loves his JRPGs. Very nice guy though. Really cool. He's actually the guy who's got me the Alcina figure. He's the one who bought me the Alcina figure from Kotobukiya, because they don't take proxies. So I was like, hey mate, do you think you could get this one for me? He's like, yeah, don't worry about it, man, just send me the money. So no, he was great. And it was difficult in a way, because obviously it was 2.5 weeks, but there was no point in like kind of looking at it and being sad about it and thinking, oh, I'm going to be gone in 2.5 weeks. Like, I'm just going to make the best of this time. So, you know, I rented out a car, I rented out a Honda, and I went all the way up to the Shiratoku Peninsula, which is like a 7-hour drive through the countryside. Yeah. One of the most beautiful places, Hokkaido. It really is. It's like the one scene that really stands out to me is when I was driving along, going through all these forests and stuff like that, winding around, and then eventually it comes around a corner and it suddenly just opens up. It's like something you would think would exist in, say, a Lord of the Rings novel or something like that. You just had mountains on both sides like that, and then maybe 2 miles worth of farmland on each side of the road, and just this single road going right the way through. It was one of the most compelling sights I think I've ever seen. I wish I had stopped at that point to take something, but if I had stopped, I would have been encroaching on someone's farmland, so I'm pretty certain they would have told me to get lost. But it was amazing. And I mean, it's not just the traveling as well. It's the fact it's like the hot spring culture and all this kind of stuff, going to hot springs. And, you know, their bath culture out there is huge out in Japan. Obviously over here, we don't really care. We have a shower and we say, that's it. let's just get on with our day. But no, it's really big out there. And the hotel I stayed at had its own bath down below, and just getting involved in that kind of stuff, you know, really relaxing after a day where you're walking around and hiking. It's something I can't really describe, but it is so satisfying to do. And then, like you say, the convenience stores, going to convenience stores. I mean, we don't have convenience stores in the UK. We don't even have 7-Eleven or anything like that. So going into places which can microwave your food, where you can draw money out, where you can do photocopying. I mean, there's a literal Trails themed. There's a Trails collaboration. Well, Falcom collaboration with, I believe it's Comparin. And there was someone on the Falcom subreddit who thanked me and Hansuke about this. They was like, oh, thank you for letting me know about this. I was able to print out all of these things at my local convenience store. And it was all these really high quality prints for like maybe 200 yen each that you could just get from a convenience store. And that's amazing to me that, you know, there's just so much convenience there. And, you know, and obviously the food as well, like sushi. If you get sushi over here, for example, the most stereotypical food I could probably think of, but if you get sushi over here, you're probably spending about 80 quid, which is probably, I don't know, what does that translate to in dollars? Maybe $120 for a day out. Whereas over there, you're looking at maybe 1,800 yen for more food, which is what's 1,800 yen? Maybe 11 quid.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is amazing. And I mean, even if I go out there for holiday, I fully intend to make the most out of every time that I spend there. Like more often than not, I'll probably go to Sapporo, but I would go to, like, you know, my favorite hot spring resorts, or I would go to maybe to Disney or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is. Or maybe go down to what's the name of the islands down on the southwest. I think it's like Kyushu or something like that. I would go to those kind of areas. Those, you know, it's all about taking in the experiences, taking in the culture and all this kind of stuff. I mean, you know, people can have holidays however they want, but for me, I like getting out there and exploring and really having a good time. And then at the end of the day, just relaxing and maybe read a book or do some editing, whatever it would be, listen to some music.
Yeah.
So that's the ideal scenario, and Japan just encapsulates that for me. I say that to everyone. I know my mum asked me so many times, why do you love Japan so much? Like, Mum, you know, it's the same reason in a way why you love Thailand, even though you're from Thailand. You know, obviously it resonates with you. That's what Japan does for me. So I feel thankful that I have that. I feel thankful that I have a country that resonates with me, rather than scanning all over the world, going to like dud countries, so to speak, and going, wow, what a waste of 2 weeks. You know, I pretty much know, yep, I'm going to Japan. That is where I'm going to be going. I'm going to enjoy my time, see my mates, possibly get some figures, send them back home, get some flavored Kit Kats from my work colleagues, and you know, go back in about another 6 months. So yeah.
That's really great. It is true though. Like when you go to a country, there is, especially one that you identify with, there's a sense that is the country that you want to visit from time to time, and even on a regular basis. That happened to me with both Japan and Paris, even though, as I mentioned in my adventures in Japan, that took quite a bit of work. But I think the work of trying to understand that culture is what partly makes this experience magical as well. To your point, though, because you mentioned Disney, I noticed that you mentioned Fuji-Q Highland in your video, which is fantastic, by the way, because I have known about Fuji-Q Highland for the longest time because I'm a huge coaster enthusiast.
There were 4 big coasters. Coasters. One of them, you saw 2 of them in the video. There was one which kind of went up like that and kind of went in an incline. We have a roller coaster in the UK, which is very similar to it. Which is based off the Saw movies, but there is the one that I know, and then there's another one, the one that I was referring to, the one that really stood out to me, the one that you go right up. I don't know how high it goes, higher than anything in the UK, and you go around the corner and you can see Fuji in the distance as you round the corner. That was unbelievable. There's so many amazing coasters there, but the one. When I was taking those pictures, or when I was taking that film, we were in the queue for I can't remember the name of it, but it just blasts off at like maybe 100 kilometers an hour. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. And I honestly feel that if you enjoy thrills, you enjoy coasters or anything like that. I mean, it's just not just the coasters, but if you enjoy thrills, Fuji-Q Highland is just amazing, especially if you can go at a time when it's not that busy. And I was kind of fortunate to go at that time.
Like, so there's Dodonpa.
Yeah. Dodonpa. That's the fast one.
Yeah, this is so difficult to like freaking pronounce. Like, well, I mean, Fujiyama is pretty easy to pronounce. Yeah. Takabisha Ejanaika? I guess that's like that's a 4th dimension ghost. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. This is not what I'm supposed to do during a conversation with you. But I think, you know, I guess this is all to say that I'm a huge like theme park fan, and the one regret that I ever have, if we're talking about regrets, is that when I went back to Japan those 2 other times, I didn't actually ever go back to a theme park. And because when I was 5 years old, as I mentioned earlier, we actually went to Tokyo Disneyland.
Oh,
Literally. Nice. Yeah. And when I actually went, Tokyo Disneyland literally just opened. So it was fresh. Like, we had a tour group and everything. And that was my first time, being at a theme park, really, outside of the Philippines. So when I went back those 2 other times, admittedly, I wasn't as into theme parks as I am now. But I discovered many years later that one of the best Disneyland parks, or one of the best Disney parks, is actually in Tokyo. And they're not talking about Tokyo Disneyland. They're talking about Tokyo Disney Sea. And at first, when I heard the name, I'm like, oh, that sounds really ridiculous, because land, sea, there. And then when I heard more details about it, it's like, they have a real, well, quote unquote, real volcano there as their centerpiece. And I'm like, what? How did I miss this? And it just, it's, to me, like, that's my biggest regret, is never going there, because, like, I just heard all good things about it. And it would have been such an experience. So if you go back there, please take some footage of that place if you are going to go there, because that sounds just like a blast. Yeah,
I mean, well, I didn't actually put it in the video, but I did go there at the end of my journey. I did actually go there because my it was basically like the final time with, obviously, my ex and all that, and we booked out a hotel right near the bay and stuff like that. One of the Disney hotels, like, massive.
The one that's in there.
Oh no, not at the entrance. That was far too expensive. We're talking about like near the bay. It was like a massive cylindrical one. You go inside and you're looking inside, like craning your neck, trying to figure out. Really posh, really nice place as well. But you could take a monorail into either Disney Sea or Disneyland, whichever one you choose to go to. And I know exactly which one you're talking about in Disney Sea, because they have the mountain as the centerpiece, because I believe that is for the Journey to the Center of the Earth. I think it is. I think they might have changed it now. But it was Journey to the Center of Earth. Very good ride as well. And they obviously had all their shows as well. I think they had a Pirates of the Caribbean show on this particular day. Some bloke trying to be Jack Sparrow, doing a pretty good job, to be honest. He was all right. And it obviously had stuff like Splash Mountain as well, and all this kind of stuff. And not in Disney Sea, but in Disneyland.
Yes.
And it was just great. I mean, a very, very magical place. But I tell you what, the Japanese people love Disneyland. They love Disneyland. They go crazy for it. You should see the amount of people who are like in the tourist shops buying stuff. Like my ex was huge on Disney. She loved Disneyland. And I was like, oh God, like, Disney's great and all that, but you guys are like fanatics.
Yeah.
But so be it. I mean, they really have a great place there, both Disney Sea and Disneyland. Very like great parades, great rides, just a really enjoyable time, no matter what you do. And I didn't take much footage there because I was too excited about the rides and too excited about the parades and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, maybe in the future, if I go back again by myself, that'll be a bit weird going by myself to Disney. I'll just say that I'm one of these YouTubers who does these point of views on the rides. and then but a great place. I mean, if anyone's listening and thinking that they want to go to Tokyo and to go to Disney in Tokyo, definitely I would fully recommend it. I mean, I've been to Disney in Paris, Disney in Florida, and now Disney in Tokyo. I'd say that Tokyo is the best of the lot, personally. That's just my personal thought on it.
And when I think about traveling as well, like, I know that there is a difference between actually living in a country versus visiting there. I think one thing that people will notice when they visit more touristy spots like Disney, for example, is the culture is actually very, very different. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure you may or may not have noticed this, but I've seen so much footage of Disney Sea, because I was obsessed about it for a time, that the Japanese also dress very differently when they go to theme parks, isn't it?
Yeah. They have the character shirts and all that kind of stuff. I think, my God, do I actually have the shirt? Or did I throw it away? Because I remember we got the Peter Pan shirt, and it is literally the most ghastly thing you're probably ever going to see. You would never, ever wear it in any other place except Disney. But it was a Peter Pan shirt with all of the characters and stuff like that. Oh my God, I wonder if I have still got it somewhere. But it was also a bit too small for me as well, so it was very, very tight. But yeah, people, like you say, do dress differently. They get the shirts, they get the hats, they get some of the backpacks and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, they chill out with the mascots and all this kind of stuff. It's, it's kind of a time to unwind more than anything else, isn't it? Because obviously, Japan, with its work culture, a lot of us know how infamous their work culture is and stuff. And it's good to have those times to unwind. And I think they really do enjoy that time to unwind because of the work that they do, because they work so long and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all, is there? I mean, if you want to enjoy your time, might as well make the best of it.
Yeah, it's something that I kept seeing a lot of, and outside of, the fanaticism, if you will, is people dress up in button-up shirts and like kind of not so casual like us Westerners when we're going to like theme parks and stuff. And I think that's kind of very fascinating to even identify, as part of the difference in culture. But to what you said about the work culture in Japan, it kind of reminds me of what happened during the Tohoku earthquake in 2011, which is a tragic event. Everybody knows about it. I remember watching on Twitter footage from people's phones recording how like the streets in front of like Tokyo Disneyland kind of like crackled and stuff like that because of the power of the earthquake and stuff that happened. And then of course, many weeks or months later, however long it took, I remember footage when Tokyo Disneyland was finally reopened and stuff, people crying literally because like that they'd missed the place, like it was something that was a part of their lives that they really needed. And I think I saw that specific part in a Disney Plus documentary, I suppose. And it was very touching to see people. Obviously, people have opinions about consumerism and brands and such. But when there's a place that you go to that really feels like your home, that you belong there, I think that's just as magical as watching something that you enjoy on TV or playing a great video game. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, we've kind of touched upon that, haven't we, with this talk about Japan and stuff like that, being this home away from home. And yeah, when something resonates with you, you just can't explain it. You can't explain it because obviously everyone's different, everyone's unique. And some things that won't be that important for some people will be very important for others. And like some people may call it fanaticism. I don't think so at all. I think it's just people, like you say, people love this stuff. People love going to these places. And, when you go to places like that, it really does feel like a proper escape. Even if you go to, say, like a restaurant or something like that, everything is kind of manufactured around this idea of this illusion, this escape to another world, so to speak. And you get that in every single area you go to, where, even if you go into, say, the toilets, the toilets are probably, even the toilets are designed in a way that make you feel like, wow, this is still Disney. This is still some place very, very special. And I mean, something that really stands out to me is that obviously when I was in Disney, like I say, going back to the restaurants, one of these restaurants was like, I think it was like the Red Rock Cafe or something like that. I have no idea what it was, but it was literally just like you go inside, you've got a massive aquarium on one side, you've got all of this jungle ambience as if you're in a jungle, all this anthropomorphic animals on one side of it, and then obviously all the food is kind of jungle themed as well. So it's great to kind of sell that illusion. And like you say, it's something that you can't explain, but I'm happy for the people who do find those escapes, because they are special moments that you savor and you never really forget, no matter what you do. And you look back on them very fondly, and whether they motivate you to carry on or whether they motivate you to go back one day, it's all well and good in my book.
Well, I definitely am looking forward to future stories of when you go back to Japan, and hopefully this time around you have footage of Disney Sea if you go there, or even more of Fuji-Q Highland, whichever you visit, because I think, that was some of the most enjoyable content I've watched recently. That is, that gives us a sneak peek into who you are as a person and also what your interests are beyond trails, and I think that's kind of very interesting. Speaking of venturing into new territory, though, I did notice that you started a Twitch channel and started streaming recently. Do you want to talk to me about that and how you came up with that idea, or if it's something that, you've been planning all this time, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's something that I did plan for a while. Basically, obviously I have my Twitter and I have my YouTube, and I try to engage with the community as much as I can, but obviously with work and with all this kind of stuff, you do find it difficult to communicate sometimes with the people who really want to talk to you. And I thought to myself, well, why not try to set up a Twitch channel, and people can join in and watch some playthroughs, and we can just talk about the games. We can just chill, have a few hours to enjoy each other's company. And that's all I really wanted at the end of the day. It was a lot of people said that they wanted it, that they would tune in. It's doing pretty well. I've got some Twitch emotes now for hopefully when I become an affiliate. I don't know. Like, I went to a guy who does these really good acrylic charms for the Trails series. I love his art, and I went to him. He was really great, and I'll definitely be going back to him again if I ever get more emote slots. But yeah, it was mostly stemmed from this idea that I wanted to engage more with the community, talk to people who, really enjoy my content as like a thank you to them and all that kind of stuff. But also just to have that bubble, where we can kind of talk and get away from all of the tedium going on in the world, just enjoy our time together. And, those 2 hours are very special. I mean, it's only once a week, but they are special moments. And I'm looking forward to streaming again this Sunday. I generally do stream on Sunday, but I might change it to Saturday or whatever, depending. Maybe do 2 a week going forward when I go back to my old job. But yeah, it's great. It's great to share some of those really memorable moments, because at the moment I'm playing Trails from Zero with the Geofront patch, which of course is no longer there anymore, but I still have it. But sharing those really special moments from Zero, it's great. It's really, really cool to not only show your genuine reaction to these moments, but also having other people, chiming in with their own opinions and their own thoughts. It's great. It's great. I mean, even if it's only 30 viewers, it's 30 viewers who take time out of their day to watch the stream and to show that they're supportive and stuff like that. And I love that. Even if it was 3 viewers, I really don't care. They're the people that you want to be doing this for. So yeah, it's great. It's great to reach out in another way from the stuff that I usually do. So
that brings up a very important question as we approach the end of our show. Endwalker is coming. Are you going to stream that?
Oh my god. We're going to be in direct competition with each other, aren't we?
No, listen, I've sworn that to never stream again, and the one time I streamed on Twitch, it was for my birthday, which only happened once after 4 years. So I don't think you're going to have competition, at least for the next 4 years, if I do another one stream on Twitch. I don't know. So no, don't worry about it.
I think I might. Maybe I could just make a day out of it, maybe like Final Fantasy Friday or something like that, and then the other time can be like, say, just a typical JRPG, whether it be Trails or whatever, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd love to do Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a really cool game to stream, I think, because you can do so many things with it. You can just have a laugh in Limsa, or Limsa is a strange place, but you can have some good times there, or you can go on to one of the raids and listen to the amazing music and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it would be something that could happen. I think I'll just have to possibly improve my internet and sort out the bit rate, because at the moment I don't think I could keep up with the Final Fantasy action. So, but I mean, that could be a plan for the future going forward. But at the moment, I'm taking it slow. I'm still learning how it all works, how Twitch works, and all this kind of stuff. Because I remember my first my first broadcast was literally just I think because I have one monitor, I have Restream, an app which basically is a chat window that I can just put onto the screen. And I think the literal title of the stream that day was brought to you by Restream or something like that. I didn't change it to like let's get over the barrier or something like that. So yeah, I'm learning as we go. And if obviously for the people who do want to watch, the people who do want to join in, and if they express an interest in Endwalker or they're thinking of trying it out themselves, then maybe that will give them the idea. But I love Final Fantasy XIV, and I imagine I'm going to love Endwalker as well. And at the end of the day, I will stream the games that I really enjoy. So
that's really great, and a great way to encompass this entire journey. I do find it very fascinating that every time we record an episode of the show, we get into a lot of kind of emotional stories, but also, we kind of get to a point of peace and harmony in a way that, I know that sounds really corny, but like that we somehow kind of encompass everything that we talked about. And I think, Final Fantasy XIV is one of those places that you and I share, that even though we're not in the same physical place, we know what we've gone through in terms of story and stuff like that, which, by the way, this might be a little bit too inside baseball, but I just started going into Zadnor for my resistance weapons. I don't know how far you are on that step, but my goodness, having to collect 180 different items just to get to the next step is quite hellacious, let me tell you that. So how far are you in there, out of curiosity?
0. Absolutely 0.
Why?
I am focusing on, like I say, I am focusing on my alternate jobs. I'm focusing because I want to get one healer class to max. I want to get one tank class to max. I've already got the DPS, and then obviously focusing on the crafting and stuff like that. Because I started around about just over a year ago. I mean, I love the game. Don't get me wrong, but there's just so much. There's just so much to do in the game, and I want to. I want to save up my golden saucer stuff so I can get the mounts, the 2 million token mount, which takes a very, very long time, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. And I mean, at the end of the day, maybe if I do get my other jobs or the jobs that I want to max level when I get the stuff that I need, then maybe I'll start looking into all this other stuff. But
I do want to ask if you have any jobs around 71 that you're leveling. And the reason why I say that is because Bozja and Zadnor are actually perfect for that. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that. I actually have a white mage. My white mage is level 71.
Okay, so basically, I know this is, again, way too inside baseball Final Fantasy, so I apologize if you don't care for this content, but like, Bozja is a place where you can bring any at least level 71 jobs, and they can gain experience just by participating in encounters and whatnot in Bozja. Same thing with Zadnor. So, for example, right now, like, I am leveling my level 76 ninja in Zadnor, which interchangeable, Bozja, Zadnor, whatever. And they gain experience for every kill. So I'm actually almost to level 80 because I've been using my ninja in these battlefields. But also at the end, you can get a really powerful, weapon for your class that is level 80, which is really fantastic. Because do you have a level 80 job? I would imagine you do.
Yeah, I've got a monk.
Yeah.
Which is why I leveled through the story and all that, so.
Yeah, and comparatively speaking, getting your resistance weapons in Shadowbringers is actually way easier than any of the previous times that they've done relic weapons in Final Fantasy XIV. So some people have gotten their relic weapons, or their resistance weapons, within a week. Well, okay. Week of obsessed gameplay. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's fairly doable. It's more approachable, and again, it has the added benefit of you bringing a level 71 job and just leveling all the way up to 80, which I think that's a good trade. So something to look into.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. Actually, I'm going to have a look into it. What is it called again? Is it part of like it's part of the resistance weapon?
Yeah.
So resistance weapons, I will add that as a...
Yeah.
I don't want to look
and it's fun to do with friends because, like, again, as long as you have a job between 71 and 80 or even 80 and stuff, you can work towards, making your resistance weapons powerful and stuff. And right. and of course, I think the best benefit of it is that you're basically getting a weapon that has like 5 materia slots, which is insane.
Oh
yeah.
That is really cool. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 2 birds with 1 stone. You're leveling up, you're getting your resistance weapon as well. I think, that's something new that I've learned today, because I haven't looked into anything like that. I've been doing the roulettes. I've been doing the roulettes. I've been doing the a bit of dungeon grinding and Heaven on High as well.
Oh, I see.
And that gets pretty monotonous after a while.
I will tell you, we only touched Heaven on High twice in its entire history and never went back.
No, so it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same with Palace of the Dead. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I know that it's a really fast way, probably the most efficient way of leveling, but I'd much rather be doing something else. Yeah. So,
I agree. All right. Well, now that we have inundated you with Final Fantasy XIV information that you may or may not know about, this is the end of the show officially, and as always, we wind up with more things that we want to talk about with each other than the previous time that you've been on here, Dom. So do you want to tell people where they can find you on YouTube, Twitter, or now Twitch as well?
So you guys can find me on YouTube, like under the Kiseki Nut. You can find me on Twitter, again under the Kiseki Nut, and again on Twitch under the Kiseki Nut. If you go onto my YouTube channel, you'll see like the quick links there as well, so you guys can kind of follow to the other areas where I'm active. And that's pretty much the only areas and stuff like that. So if you enjoy my content, which I'm very thankful for, then check it out. And very good time to be a Trails fan. So if you are a Trails fan or a Falcon fan, hopefully you could try to join the journey with us as well.
Definitely. And thank you again, Dom, for joining us. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a part 3 of this somewhere down the line, maybe even after Endwalker releases, so we can actually focus an entire episode on Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, I'd be down for that, Alex. I'd be all down for that. I mean, I will try and get most of the main story quest, or a lot of the main story quest, done, depending on when we do it and stuff like that, or hopefully whenever we do it. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about with Final Fantasy XIV. Even if we're on different data servers and stuff like that, we can have a laugh with that game.
But there is going to be data center travel with Endwalker, so it can't really, that's something to think about. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, something to think about. Yeah, but the ping's going to be awful, isn't it?
That's true.
That's one side of it, but. But maybe we can make something happen. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We'll think about that. Maybe in the interim, I suppose, in between podcast episode recordings or something like that.
I like it. I like the sound of it.
All right. And of course, thank you to everybody who's joined us here today, listening or watching the podcast. If you are listening on a podcast app, please consider subscribing to us at youtube.com/Backlog Battle Podcast. It's actually a place where you can mention specific parts of the show that you liked on the comments, and also kind of react to some of the things that we talked about. I really would love to read how you guys reacted to the show. And of course, pretty sure Dom would love to read these reactions as well. But in any event, next week on Wednesday, 12 a.m. Pacific time, we'll have a brand new guest on the show, and I hope you look forward to that one as well. So until next week, we'll see you guys later, and happy gaming.